All right. Well, originally I was going to do a piece all about the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, but there was rumours circulating on the internet pipes yesterday that maybe Jake Paul's got injured in sparring. So I'll leave that segment for another time. It wasn't going to happen till July anyway, so I'm not going to talk about that. Instead, I thought I'd talk about the conviction of Sam Bankman-Fried, scam Wankman Greed. This is a story of unbelievable hubris. Sort of unbelievable.
Oh, you're going to launch into the intro to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for a minute.
A defrauded investors. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a fall from grace, a roller coaster ride. I mean, this kid goes from nothing, well, from just a normal sort of middle class, to having something like $20 billion to owing $11 billion and being sentenced to 25 years in prison. I mean, that's a roller coaster of a thing, right? And so, yeah, he was convicted, I think just yesterday or possibly the day before, I think yesterday, to 25 years. He'll probably only serve something like 11 or 12. He could have got as much as 115 years in jail. The judge was never really actually going to sentence him to that. But anyway, got 25 years. The Manhattan courts, Southern District of New York, decided he was guilty of all the charges, I think 7 charges or more. And they were things like conspiracy to commit wire fraud, or wire fraud. I've got a list of them somewhere. Yeah, wire fraud conspiracy, securities fraud conspiracy, and money laundering. They were potentially going to get him on other things as well. He was going to have a second trial, but it looks like that's probably not going to happen. But that was really serious stuff as well, like foreign bribery, foreign bribery and bank fraud and all sorts of things. So,
acceptably ugly girlfriend.
Yeah, one of the
I'd charge him for that.
Female human beings I've ever seen in my life. Caroline Ellison. We'll get onto her. She might go down.
I'd rather not. Thank you.
Yeah. She could go down for as much as 50 years, but probably will get a small custodial sentence and might not serve any time at all because she had a cooperation agreement, a deal with the Fed.
She began naming names, I think.
Well, yeah, they turned on each other in court. Absolutely turned on each other in court. But we'll get to that. So, he will go down in history as one of the all-time greatest financial criminals. Now, there's a couple of different angles or narratives you could have on this guy. One is that he's sort of a frustrated genius that no one really understood, and he didn't mean to do anything wrong, didn't know, or that was a big part of his defense. He didn't really know what was happening, what was going on sort of within his company.
That kind of contradicts the genius claim, though, doesn't it, a bit?
Right, yeah, it's on you. The buck's up with you if you're the CEO or the owner, the founder and things. So there's that angle that he's just like, he's got weird, crazy hair, so probably a genius, right? Doesn't make eye contact with people and constantly fidgets and got crazy hair, so he's a genius, right?
You're describing half of the Lotus Eaters office.
So it must be true, clearly.
Or that he is a complete shyster, a complete fraud, a liar, a sort of an endlessly lying weirdo, freak, stealing, theft.
Man with an outside sense of chutzpah, you could say.
Isn't the theory essentially that he's a patsy for the gigantic grift engine of impact investment and ethical capital to keep ticking over? So they can throw this guy under the bus while deflecting from the fact that everyone else involved in this sphere of basically squirreling away money on things like ESG and that are equally as corrupt, but they want to deflect to just, it's just this guy. It's just fine. The rest of it's all right.
Oh, yeah. The industry is definitely all as corrupt as this guy. So sometimes you do need to throw the old sacrificial lamb out.
I mean, maybe. When they looked into it, when it all started to collapse in 2022, people started looking at it closely. Well, the United States Attorney Office, the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, as well as the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, 3 different sort of federal entities. We're just sort of like, let's see what's going on here. Yes, you're clearly doing criminal things, obviously. Like I say, he was convicted on it all. Out of those 2 narratives, the magistrates in Manhattan decided he was, sort of a slam dunk, guilty thing.
I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying all of them are also doing it. And they're kind of happy that he can be put away, so it deflects from them probably doing something similar.
Maybe. I mean, there's this idea that sort of not all banks, but sort of large swathes of the banking industry it's built in, it's hard baked into it that it's corrupt or whatever, or something like the Federal Reserve itself is sort of.
If I were to go back to a libertarian argument, I would argue that basic fractional reserve banking is basically a form of fraud in the first place, really, isn't it?
Well, for a lot of human history, the very concept of charging interest, usury, is sort of not on.
No.
And that's what a lot of everything is based around. But
hi folks, sorry to interrupt the video, but I wanted to let you know that we've introduced a feature on the website that allows you to purchase individual videos. So if you go over to lotus.com and see a piece of premium content that you really want to watch, you can pay for it and it is yours forever.
Anyway, so let's talk a tiny bit about him and his life and what actually happened and the court case and everything. So he's not stupid. I mean, he is stupid. At the end, I'm going to round out this piece by saying he must be very, very stupid, right? But on another level, he's not stupid at all. Like, he went to MIT. He got a job on Wall Street, Jane Street Capital. So, and wasn't fired for incompetence there. So he's got a mind. He's not.
There is a type of stupidity unique to the high IQ.
Right.
Well, not just that. It's like, okay, this is going to be a contentious comparison. Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you hear people, one of the Weinstein brothers, Eric, who's the mathematician, not the biologist.
I think so, yeah.
He's been in interviews before saying, "Oh, I met with Jeffrey Epstein, and even though he was meant to be a physics professor, he was at MIT, wasn't he? Or was it Harvard? Can't remember which one. He just said he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He had absolutely so who put him there, who helped set him up, etc. So he might well be very smart, but his actions seem to have contradicted that. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't just mean by virtue of you having these positions that you necessarily earned your way there.
On very smart people involved in with Jeffrey Epstein. Do you remember when Steven Pinker consulted with him during for his original court case, and then when questioned about it on Joe Rogan, the super smart Steven Pinker turned around and said, "Well, I hadn't really looked into it. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what it was that I was dealing with. So I can't really be..." Stephen, you're supposed to be very smart, and also he was consulting with you for the case. How could you not know anything about this person that you're supposed to be helping? Anyway.
So Bankman-Fried was supposed to be the king of crypto, right? He was supposed to be this wunderkind, this genius. In court, there's actually a line I saw in the transcripts where he said, I knew nothing about crypto. Right. So it's the Emperor's New Clothes thing. He was hyped beyond belief. Can we play this thing?
Yeah, just click on it.
Where's the mouse? Oh, yeah, okay. I'll do it, Jack. Oh, go on, you do it then.
Oh, wait, no, back to the other one.
Back to the other one, please.
I'm Sam Bankman-Fried. I'm the CEO and co-founder of FTX.
The FTX founder is now worth an estimated $11 billion.
Sam Bankman-Fried was the golden
Skinny
boy
fat.
of crypto, the tech-savvy whiz kid who promised to transform the murky world of online currencies.
Like I was saying, it's FTX. It's a safe and easy way to get into crypto.
Larry David.
Investors flocked to his FTX platform, and he became an overnight billionaire. But when his company spectacularly collapsed, prosecutors discovered an entrepreneur with no clothes, an empire built on financial fraud that today landed him 25 years in prison.
I mean, this was not a small potatoes enterprise here. This is one of the biggest financial frauds in American history.
Bankman-Fried is now up there with some of the world's most notorious financial criminals, like Bernie Madoff, whose infamous Ponzi scheme in the noughties cheated investors out of billions. So too Bankman-Fried, who was ordered to pay more than $11 billion as part of his sentencing, during which the 32-year-old stood in a brown prison jumpsuit and declared he was sorry for a series of
Anyway,
bad
Jack, you can stop playing that
decisions
now. You get the
that
idea.
judge
It's just a bit of news saying this has happened.
He
Okay?
looks like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
Yeah, that is not a flattering drawing of him. And I must comment as well, terrible vocal physiognomy as well. I don't understand how Americans end up with these voices that are really high-pitched on the register. I don't get it. I don't know how they do that.
Yeah, Michael Lewis, the great author, said that he's like the king of nerds. Even nerds don't want to share a lunch table with this nerd. Like, so yeah, the physiognomy very rarely lies, doesn't it? But yeah, he'll go down with someone like Bernie Madoff or Nick Leeson at Barings Bank or like the Enron thing, Kenneth Lay is just one of the all-time fraudsters. He deserves to, in my opinion, anyway. If we could play that next clip with Jim Cramer from CNBC.
Bar, I will say this. That guy is a clueless idiot. Intent means nothing. Saying sorry means nothing. If you commingle, if you had no record keeping, those are against the law. It's not like they're like, you know what, I was sloppy and I feel bad and I'm sorry. No, you were sloppy, you didn't keep records. Illegal, all right? So if you're admitting to illegality, even though you think that you had no intent, the U.S. attorney does not care one whit about intent. What the U.S. attorney cares about is, did you break the law? Like, you don't go to the U.S. attorney and say, man, I'm really sorry.
I didn't mean it.
I didn't even hurt anybody. No, it's against the law. Now, being
Okay,
a
can you
nice
stop with
guy,
that, Jack?
which he clearly is.
Okay, that guy's Jim Cramer.
He's usually wrong in everything.
Yeah, that's very rich that he's going on TV caning Scam Wankman because he was one of the people who absolutely sung his praises for ages. He called him, the same guy called him the new JP Morgan.
Oh, really? Is that
Right.
where that quote came
JP
from?
Morgan's one of the all-time greatest tycoons, if you didn't know. He would say things like, or people like him would say that FTX and Sam Bankman might be the first trillionaire and stuff, and they're the future. If you've got any money, invest it with him.
I think Zimbabwe produced the first trillionaires, surely.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought I had another clip, but I guess I don't.
I think there's another.
It was showing that. No, we'll save that for next. But anyway, I did have another clip where it was showing that Jim Cramer saying all these things. You used to be able to find whole compilations of all different sort of TV financial analysts just singing the praises of FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. And of course, they all changed their tune now. It is like an Emperor's New Clothes thing. They all kept jumping on the bandwagon. And he became, if you remember, I don't remember if you remember at the time, but he became a sort of the darling of the like the beautiful people, like celebrities and things. Do you remember this? He was giving money out left, right, and centre.
I know wasn't he the biggest Democrat donor, or was he the second biggest?
Yeah. So he gave loads and loads and loads of money to the Biden campaign, tons of money.
It was him and Soros, wasn't it? I think donating all that money.
And then he also met with Mitch McConnell to give the Republicans tons of money in order to flood the Republican Party with never Trumpers.
Right.
He had a bad case of Trump derangement syndrome.
So he's a rhino conservationist.
Yeah. Most of the money he spent was on pandemic prevention initiatives.
Oh, him and Zuckerberg doing all that sort of stuff. Yes, I remember that.
And loads of never Trump stuff. But also just loads of philanthropy all over the place. Just giving money to football stars, American football stars, all sorts of celebrities. He did that advert with Larry David, paid Larry David $10 million just for that. All this sorts of thing. Like throwing around tens of millions of dollars all the time, everywhere. He sold himself as a philanthropist. He was going to save the world, going to change the world for the best in all sorts of ways. That was his shtick.
But now he's in prison.
Yeah. Now he owes $11 billion that he could never dream of paying back, and got a quarter of a century in the clink. So yeah.
I think it's fitting with Larry David. Dum bum bum.
Yeah, well, we'll get that in a minute. Actually, someone's already thought of that. So let's talk about what actually happened, what went down. So he made a company called Alameda Research, which was just sort of a trading company, a fund, not really strictly a hedge fund in any way, although I have seen it described that way, but a fund that traded crypto. Right. So that's the first thing. That did okay for a while and got lots of investors, and they traded. He made his girlfriend at the time, what's her name, Caroline Ellison, the CEO of that. And so they're just trading crypto. But then he decides he's going to make his own crypto trading platform, which is FTX, right? So you go from being sort of a high roller in a casino to owning your own casino. That's sort of an analogy I've seen, which is quite a good one, actually. So there you take a tiny amount of, it's not really brokerage, but a tiny fee, trading fee
Of every transaction.
of every transaction. So at that point, you don't care if crypto's going up or down, whether people shorting it or not. You're getting a tiny cut of all the trades that are going on. And there was billions of dollars a day being traded on FTX at one point. So it's just, you're just, in theory anyway, printing money almost, making so much money. If he had sort of floated the company, he would have had 20, maybe 30 billion personal fortunes at one point. It's just sort of insane money, right? Just absolutely insane money. I think he was worth, at least in theory, something like 20 billion before he was 30 years old. And so it goes from just being sort of, and he wasn't born into like massive wealth or anything. So it went from just sort of a normal middle class family to being worth 20 billion, not exactly overnight, but very, very quickly. An incredible success story, if it wasn't all based on a house of cards. Well, where it got dodgy is that he would, where his actual trading company, Alameda was trading on FTX. Oh, already a little bit weird, a little bit suspect, not really a good idea for all sorts of reasons. But anyway, when Alameda started losing loads of money, or when crypto started going down, it's just not an endless bubble. Actually, a bit ironic to say that because Bitcoin's at an all-time high right now, I believe. Anyway.
But there are loads of shitcoins that...
Oh, yeah, all sorts of things, yeah. Alameda started losing tons of money. So they just took money from FTX and put it into Alameda bank accounts. You can't do that. That's not allowed. Jim Cramer called it commingling. You just can't do that. If you don't tell anyone you're doing it and you don't keep proper records, and if anyone does ask for records, you give them fake balance sheets. All this is massively criminal, right? You're just not allowed to do it. And the reason why I say it's stupid is because that sort of thing will not work for very long. You get away with that sort of thing for a few months, maybe a couple of years. Like Enron, like bearing banks, you get away with it for a little bit maybe, but when people that know what they're doing and looking at start poking around, it'll all come crashing down. Don't know how you can sleep at night when you're doing these sorts of crimes. It's like, it's not going to work for very long. They transferred something in the end, something like 8 billion of people's money, normal people's money that have put it on the FTX platform and put it in their own bank account.
Well, also, imagine if there's a great big run on a coin that spikes and starts to dip, and you've got to pay out loads of money to your investors. What was his plan when suddenly the bill came due? Just to go, sorry, lads, moths in my pocket. Like,
yeah, and it's gone.
He was basically running his own fractional reserve scheme with his investors' money. That could have created what you've described there as like some form of digital bank run.
Yeah. I mean, even that is, likening it to the Federal Reserve, even that is generous. No, it's just misappropriation or embezzlement or theft, whatever you want to call it. That's stealing people's money. Okay, that's what that is. Let's call it what it is, right? You can't do that. And so in the end, what happened was there was exactly that. There was a run on FTX. Well, they put out some financial health records, and it didn't look great. And then the guy that ran Binance, what was his name? Changpeng Zhao, the CEO of Binance, sort of went on Twitter and said, FTX don't look all that healthy. That looks crap. And there was a bit of a run on it. People just want their money back. And FTX are like, this happens over about the space of 5 days. In other words, an absolutely precipitous destruction, implosion. And FTX are like, we haven't got all your money.
It's like the scene in It's a Wonderful Life where Jimmy Stewart's trying to convince people not to just take it out all at once and collapse the whole place.
Yeah. But on an unbelievable scale.
And that's how we end up with a massive drop like that.
Yeah. Where people like actual equities markets, i.e. there's markets just trading in the stock of FTX. They're like, the whole thing's a nonsense. Yeah, sell. Yeah, get rid of it. Boom. You're suddenly worth nothing. You go from you're worth 20 billion to you're not worth anything really.
Just buy the dip, boys. Just buy the dip.
Yeah, it's still good. It's going to come back. I still got faith in Sam. Buy.
25 years from now, when he's out, we're going to be so to the moon.
Yeah, buy low, and it's going to go to the moon. Yeah, no. So, I mean, I've worked for asset management companies for the best part of 20 years. I worked in commodities trading. I was never a trader, never got close to trading because apart from anything else, my mental arithmetic was nowhere near up to it. You need a few very, very specific qualities to be a trader, whether it's Forex, foreign exchange, or whether it's commodities, whether it's equities. To be a trader, you cannot fake it, or you will be exposed very quickly. And there's a few things in life that you can't fake, right? Being a fast race car driver or something. The stopwatch doesn't lie, okay? Your returns, if you're a trader, don't lie. You can either do it or you can't do it, right? And so I wanted to be a foreign exchange Forex trader for years, but my mental arithmetic wasn't up to it. It'd be like, you have to be able to do something like work out 32 times 2 minus 1.5%, make a risk analysis, is it worth it or not? And do that instantly. The market's moving. Too late. You're not going to be a Forex trader. You're not quick enough. Right? So there's a very small number of people that can do that sort of thing. You need to be extremely quick. And you can't be a cheat. You can't be a liar. Right? Everything's recorded, especially with foreign exchange or anything like that, currency trading. So this Caroline Ellison, one of the ugliest humans ever to have lived, she was CEO of Alameda Research, the trading wing of Sam's empire. And if we could play a clip here of her.
Yeah, absolutely could pull it off without my math degree. Use very little math. Use a lot of elementary school math. Being comfortable.
Okay, all right. She said there, that's sort of true. Okay, the maths you need to be a good trader is not very, very difficult maths. You don't need calculus. It is essentially what she said, sort of high school or elementary school maths. But it's very difficult elementary maths, if that makes sense. And you have to be able to do it very, very quickly. So that's true. But the next thing she says here.
Comfortable with risk is very important. We tend not to have things like stop losses. I think those aren't necessarily a great risk management tool. Trying to think of a good example.
That, what she just said there, I don't know if you caught it, is completely insane. She said, we don't really believe in stop losses. It's not a great risk management tool. That's mental. She's a child playing, pretending, LARPing at being a trader. That's beyond, there's no argument to be made. The stop losses, you make a trade, you put a trade in, you're in the market, and if you want to, you can put a stop loss on it. Whereas if it falls below a certain point, it automatically gets you out of the market, and you've lost some money, but you don't have endless loss, right? She said we don't really use those. It's not a good risk management tool. Nonsense. Wrong, madam. Wrong. When I saw that, I instantly knew the whole thing was complete nonsense.
Well, if you mitigate the risk of losses in the minds of your buyers, you're going to get more people who are more temperamentally risk averse of buying in. So you're going to get more people trading on your platform if you have them, right?
Well, it's up to each person that's trading to if they want to use a stop loss or not.
But if you have them there, then more people who might be more risk averse are more likely to buy in and trade if they have that as a fallback.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's not talking about FTX. She's talking about Alameda, her trading firm. So trading is a type of gamble. It's a type of risk. In fact, being a trader is one long, endless exercise in risk management. I've worked very closely with commodities traders in the job I did directly before I worked here. And all they're doing all day, essentially, is playing a game of risk management. You get sort of relatively small wins, and you lock them in and get out of the market and move on to the next thing. There's the idea of value investing, where you find a company, say if it's in equities, you find a company that you think's undervalued, and you buy it and you golden hands it. You hold on to it for ages, years and years and years, until it's grown and worth loads more, and then you sell it and you've made loads of profit. Okay, that's a bit different sort of day trading, or certainly currency trading. To not put a stop, to think that stop losses are not a good risk management tool. It's like a MotoGP rider saying that I don't think crash helmets are a good idea. It doesn't protect your head. I don't think it protects your head very well. I'd rather not wear one. It's mental. It's absolutely mental. It's like, I don't know, it's like maybe being a professional poker player and saying, I don't need to understand the rules of poker. I don't need to know which hand beats other hands. I don't think that's an important part of it. I just play and endlessly win. That's just how good I am. Anyone that sees that knows anything about it knows that that's sort of an unbelievable thing to hear from a currency trading or a crypto trading company, that we don't use stop losses. We don't think it's a good risk management tool. I mean, if you carry on playing, See what this idiot says.
Example of a trade where I've lost a ton of money.
Liar.
Well, I don't know. I probably don't want to go into specifics too much with that.
Stop it there, Jack. Yeah, so she was saying, I can't think of an example of a trade where I lost loads of money. You absolute liar. Absolute liar.
I bet she can now.
Right, yeah. So Alameda was just losing loads of money. FTX illegally gave them tons of money. The whole thing collapses and they turn on each other. So also, Sam Bankman-Fried decided to use loads of the money to just buy properties in the Bahamas.
Didn't do loads of drugs.
I don't know actually the drug thing.
I thought that she said she did meth.
Oh, I don't know that.
While using the money.
Wow, I don't know that. Didn't know that one.
Really trustworthy person to appoint as a CEO.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. So yeah, they came out with, they tried to sort of cover it up for a while, sort of come out with fake balance sheets, sort of Bernie Madoff style, just pretend that everything's still okay. But of course it's not. So when it came to trial, they turned on each other. He said, one, I was just above it all. It should be for my minions to figure out what went wrong, if anything. Just innocence. I just don't know. I was making so much money. I don't know what happened to that 8 billion. Nonsense. Okay, the courts in lower New York didn't buy that, nor would anyone in their right mind. He said she made it was all her fault. She did lots of things that were illegal. I didn't do it. But she was the prosecution's star witness. She gave sort of 13 hours worth of testimony. She cut a deal. As did there's a couple other people involved. Gary Wang, Nishad Singh, also may see the inside of a prison, but they also cut deals, so probably won't. So yeah, they basically turned on each other, and but the whole thing was, as I say, a bit of a joke. They had no CFO, chief financial officer. What? They had no compliance wing. Madness. Okay, crypto, there's very little regulation anyway. But, I've worked for a few big companies, massive companies, Bank of New York Mellon, JP Morgan, State Street, Northern Trust. They will have giant legal departments, giant compliance departments. No matter how lowly you are, if there's even a suggestion that the law or compliance is involved, you kick it to a compliance team. They have giant compliance departments to make sure you're not breaking any rules. A sort of a big chunk of what they do all day, every day.
Well, I imagine the problem there is that there are so many rules in the first place. That's why they need to be so outsized. So even if comparatively crypto is not as regulated, there's still going to be so many tripwires that you can hit without even realizing it. That's a stupid thing to do on the face of it.
To have no CFO and no compliance department is, again, it's like saying, we don't use stop losses, don't need to, I just understand risk so well that we don't need. It's just, sorry, what, you haven't got a CFO, you're playing around with billions of dollars. And
imagine an example like the ones you get. Yeah, we don't have wings on our plane, actually. Yeah. We don't need them.
Yeah.
We just get a slingshot and it flies into the sky and we land where we land. It works every time.
Only boomers use wings. We're young and up and coming. We're the wunderkind. We don't need engines and wings on our aeroplanes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so it comes to court. He did a couple other slightly dodgy things on top of everything else. Apparently tried to, or did try and contact his prosecutors and say, let's cut a deal. Can't do that. That's ridiculous. He leaked some of her diary, which doesn't sound like much, but it could be construed as intimidation and just stuff outside of court, doing stuff you're not really supposed to do. Didn't show apparently any remorse, because loads of normal people lost money. Loads of just completely normal people put their money on the FTX platform, and suddenly one day it's literally like, it's gone, sort of a thing. So it's not. It's quite a bad crime. It really is. So yeah, I mean that's the fall of Sam Bankman-Fried. I would say that it was a combination of sort of insane hype married to a complete fraud of a person, a swindler, a liar. I've got no real empathy for him. Like, he's this poor a genius that's misunderstood and accidentally didn't know what was going on, didn't have enough oversight over his various companies. No, I don't buy any of that, as did the courts. So, no, you deserve actually to go to prison for quite a long time. So there you go, the rise and fall of Sam Bankman-Fried.
If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the premium videos, this one on the career of Stanley Kubrick. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Twitter at lotuseaters_com on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.